Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we are going to be discussing a little bit about a potential Ahsoka Season 2 into the regards of what a second season would have to do in order to fix some of the issues from the first season. We are going to go ahead, we're going to hop right on into it. In this video we are going to be taking a read from the Direct's article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. We also have our merch shop, go check that out. We have some promo codes you guys can get some money off. The holidays are right around the corner and there might be some good gift ideas on there. Anyway, as their article reads, while Ahsoka delivered fan favorite Star Wars moments, of course, the Disney Plus show also had a number of issues as well. Following Ahsoka Tano's live-action debut in The Mandalorian's second season and the reprisal of the Book of Boba Fett as well, the former Jedi received her own 8-episode title series that also served as this quote-unquote continuation of Star Wars Rebels and to the rest of the Mandoverse. But with every live-action reveal or expertly crafted action sequence, certain issues were exposed that fans need Star Wars themselves to address ahead of a potential second season of Ahsoka, and which Lucasfilm is reportedly having discussions on already about, but has yet to actually greenlight or officially announce anything. Unlike Star Wars The Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, the animated shows, Ahsoka is the latest addition to Disney Plus Mandoverse and takes place after the original trilogy, after the events of Return of the Jedi, set 30 years between the original trilogy and The Force Awakens. While Lucasfilm has yet to confirm whether Ahsoka continues in a second season or in Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie, there's definitely some leeway and some unloose, story knots, of course, that were left open for them to expand on and with and continue on the journey of these characters, like leaving Sabine and Ahsoka in an entirely different galaxy on Peridea. So here's a breakdown of a few Ahsoka problems and issues that Star Wars would need to fix from its first season in order to continue on with a potential second season. The first one that comes to mind is a stoic characters and its dialogue. Bringing animated characters into live action is no small feat, but in the case of Ahsoka, the live action cast needed to be more animated at that. Now, before we continue on, I believe there to be much of an explanation for why Ahsoka specifically and her character feels more dull, especially in the beginning episodes of the show overall, and then in the latter half of the show, especially after episode 5, we can really see her character come to life, I feel, as of more, and that is for sure something that Dave Filoni did on purpose. We take a look at the character of Ahsoka, and she's in a defeated world. She's at a loss, really, overall, and she's expressionless is a common complaint, if for anything, amongst the Star Wars fans. She doesn't have necessarily any motive to continue on and carry on, especially with stopping that looming threat of Thrawn. That isn't to also mention of her former master, Anakin Skywalker, having this more dull, expressionless kind of feeling to him overall, and that was done purposely between Anakin and Darth Vader. The whole transition between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. It's something that kind of clearly seemed to have wore off a little bit on Ahsoka herself, especially an older iteration of her character especially. And so, as we see, especially after the Clone Wars sequent flashbacks that we see in the Ahsoka episode 5, when Ahsoka comes back out of those, she feels more lively, more motivated to really get the job done, and I think that's exactly what Dave Filoni was really going for. But as the article reads, one of those issues was the show's dialogue, which felt slow, dry, and banterless. There was no exact evidence of a shared history between its characters necessarily, and to a point felt as if they were meeting for the first time, and which I feel that's another point in which Dave Filoni was doing on purpose. It is much of a sense of the characters are re-meeting and reigniting those relationships that they had previously before from Star Wars Rebels. At other times, there simply wasn't enough, such as when Sabine Wren finally found Ezra and opted not to tell him anything, or when Ezra united with Hera Syndulla, only for the scene to cut before Hera could even really reply, which to a point can be argued as something perfect. And for, that defense, this is for what the article is reading. For that defense, though, Sabine told Ezra everything that had happened. She didn't opt not to tell him anything. She told him just about everything that had happened since he was stranded away in this other galaxy. It was just done off-screen, because we all know that would be kind of boring to see on-screen. The other problem was the portrayal, though, however, of Ahsoka's characters, who who overall felt stonic, flat, and lacking their chemistry from the animation. It's almost as if Dave Filoni's penchant for samurai movies became his live-action direction, and it clashed with the personalities and relationships of his established animated characters to a point. But in the defense of that, as I had to mention, it feels as if Filoni was going for reigniting those relationships, and as if they were re-meeting for the first time. Granted though, however, there were moments of where the charisma of his Star Wars Rebels characters surfaced, but the same can't be said exactly for Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano, who couldn't quite capture the establishment of her character's unique brand of warmth and charm. But I highly disagree with that once again. I feel that's exactly what she brought to the table. Yes though, Ahsoka is a bit older in her series than when we see her in Clone Wars or Rebels, and she's more experienced, considerable loss and trauma throughout her life. Still, in a show titled Ahsoka, Ahsoka Tano needs to feel like the character instead of someone else entirely to a point. Although, as I will say, once again in the defense of the overall show itself, that's something that I feel that Dave Filoni was going for on purpose. There's a time jump since we've last seen her character. So the second complaint that this article brings up is the resilience of the overall lure and mythology of the Star Wars canon and explanations everything. Not only was Ahsoka headlined by characters previously limited to animation, but the Disney Plus show relied on some of the animated show's most ambitious mythology, like the Purgle, the World Between Worlds, and the Mortis Gods, which are all amazing things to come to life and see those things in live action. In addition to requiring casual fans to Google as part of their viewing experience and homework, Ahsoka relied heavily upon its own lure, such as Ahsoka and Sabine's off-screen master and apprentice relationship, and the reveal of this brand new galaxy, Peridia. But once again, in those defenses, those are things that are just going to happen, and are also things that are needed to make an interesting story overall, or else we would be wasting time on things that don't necessarily need to be pre-established all that much, and with working on things that are trying to be pre-established to a point. We don't necessarily need that full story. Of course, it would be nice to have maybe flashback sequences here and there, but a whole, episode focused on flashback sequences of this master and apprentice relationship that Ahsoka and Sabine shared off-screen after the events of the Star Wars Rebels animated show isn't something necessarily that's needed. We get the point. While diehard Star Wars fans felt seen, general audiences felt lost and confused to a point, especially since the show asked more questions than it actually answered, instead of bringing those viewers on board. For the casual viewers, let me know if you guys were casual viewers. As of for such, I tried to have my dad actually watch this show, and it just wasn't one of those things that he could get into. It didn't really hold his attention all that much, and he didn't necessarily feel all that interested, because it was too much of a jumpy, confusing story, as he kind of mentioned. It's something that I do agree with that this overall show did a bit much with. If you didn't watch the animated shows like Rebels or Clone Wars, you're not going to entirely be on board with everything that's going on in the Ahsoka show, which is something that they could work on for more of a potential Ahsoka Season 2 with explaining some more of that backstory. Anyway, that brings us to our third point as for an overall issue, and it's a controversial one to a point, but it's Sabine's story of her Jedi storyline overall. So, throughout Ahsoka's 8-episode run, fans were puzzled by Sabine's Jedi training, even as the show continuously reminded audiences that her aptitude for the Force falls short, especially compared to other Padawans, as mentioned by Hugh Yang. The problem is that this subplot lacked precedent both in terms of Jedi training and Sabine ran herself. In Star Wars Rebels, Sabine is an artist and a Mandalorian weapons expert who, despite being on the constant company of 2 other Jedi, has no interest in actually training and even gives up the Darksaber when it comes into her possession quite easily. This heel-turned-felt Force, no pun intended, for the sake of Ahsoka Tano's arc herself overall, which is selfish to a point. And while Sabine doesn't use the Force by the season's end, the ease in which she Force throws Ezra into Thrawn's ship wasn't believable, and echoed the same issue fans had with Rey's abilities from the sequel trilogy, which were balanced out, but that's a whole nother topic. And so, this was probably one of my largest issues with the Ahsoka show, is making Sabine Wren Force sensitive. It's not the fact that I have a problem with her being Force sensitive, it just didn't feel right. They totally could have done it, and they could have totally made it work and felt like it made sense, but they didn't work on it enough. If they were going to do that, they should have worked on it a little bit more throughout the show itself, with having some more sequences sequences between Sabine and Ahsoka training together. I don't remember correctly enough, but maybe there's like one of those sequences. I could be wrong about that though. And so, if Ahsoka receives a season 2, Dave Filoni and co. need to show audiences why Sabine's Jedi status was necessarily and actually believable, actually at that. They just need to expand on it more, is my only problem with that. And so, that brings us to our fourth, issue with Ahsoka and for what they would need to do in fixing it for a season 2. And I think it's exactly why it would need a season 2, actually. It's the lack of resolution overall. And they did it quite purposely and for good reason. Not only to set things up for a potential Ahsoka season 2, but also to set things up heavily for Dave Filoni's Mandoverse Cultivation movie that was announced at the beginning of this year at Star Wars Celebration. Like most Disney Plus shows, the final episodes of Ahsoka's first season, titled The Jedi, The Witch, and The Warlord, had a lengthy to-do list overall. But again, like most Disney Plus shows, and against the fans' hopes, the final episode opted to serve as more of a commercial for the studio's nebulous crossover plans, or the first act of the Star Wars Mandoverse movie, to a point. And that is exactly what it did, and it's exactly what it was supposed to do, in my opinion. Now, in all fairness though, Ahsoka completed Lady Tano's own, somewhat vague personal journey, and succeeded in heavily in bringing Ezra back into the main galaxy, far, far away. But overall, the season asked more questions than it provided answers for, and that's exactly what Dave Filoni was going for. For instance, why is Peridia, this other galaxy, exactly where, Ahsoka, is supposed to be? Why was Thrawn's ship full of caskets, and would be unleashed zombie night troopers on the New Republic? What was Balin's skull after, and why are there statues of the Mortis gods on this planet? Did Ahsoka die after her duel with Balin? And lastly, since Shin Hati joined Peridia Bandits, what was her purpose in the show, just, to a point overall at that? Will we ever see her come back to the light side of the Force? Perhaps what makes the lack of resolutions all the worse is Lucasfilm's silence on the overall topic of things. Fans have no idea whether these issues will be addressed in a potential Ahsoka Season 2, and by which I think that they will be, the Mandoverse movie or The Mandalorian Season 4. God, I hope they don't bring up any of the Ahsoka things in The Mandalorian Season 4. I would really just hope that The Mandalorian Season 4 just focuses on The Mandalorian, as they did give The Mandalorian a quote-unquote soft reboot at the end of Season 3. But anyway, that's something to discuss in another video. Or how Lucasfilm intends to handle Balin's skull following the late Ray Stevenson's death, unfortunately. And due to the ongoing strikes with the actors, the gap between Ahsoka and answers could take, at point, years. Which is just the unfortunate reality of things. Yes, audiences should be left wanting more than a season cuts to black, but what feelings should come from enjoyment, not frustration and confusion at that? It's a bit of both for me. As a diehard Star Wars fans, it makes me frustrated, but I like it at the same time. It's something different, unique, and that's why I like Ahsoka overall, and that's why I also think it deserves a second season. These are all things that were kind of done purposely, as I've kind of been mentioning throughout this video, and things that they are using to set up for a potential second season, because in the grand scheme of things, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they know what they're doing with the Mandoverse. Guys, this hero being said, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions and theories in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking about the Ahsoka show overall, what you want to see in a potential second season. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.